After I was killed, my wife Kelly finally arrived with the ransom. She cried over my dead body. I received a call on the way that Robert had been in a car accident. I was worried that he was in trouble, so I went to the hospital to check on him. I didn't expect that the kidnappers would actually kill you just because I was a little late. Robert is a friend of ours who grew up together. Past events and truths that I didn't know came into my mind. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the moment when Kelly fell off her electric bike in front of my car. The story is about to begin. If you like it, remember to like and follow. Do you know how to drive? Kelly sat on the ground, pointing at me and shouting angrily. Her hair was disheveled and her face was distorted. The electric bike fell to the side, the rearview mirror fell off, and the brochures in the basket were scattered all over the floor. At first glance, she really looked like a hit-and-run victim. In my previous life, I recovered from my shock and quickly got out of the car to ask her if she was injured. Although I was sure that I didn't hit her the moment I saw there was no scratch on the front of the car, I still softened my heart after her subsequent pity talk and agreed to help her factory through the crisis. Now, I sat in my car and called the police. Kelly cursed a few words, and when she saw that I didn't get out of the car, she lay on the ground and cried in pain. Seeing that I remained unmoved, she got up and walked angrily to my car. "Asshole, you hit me, do you know that? Get out of the car." She slammed the car window hard. That's when the police showed up. I immediately got out of the car and explained the situation. "Comrade police, I was the one who called the police. She was trying to scam me, I didn't hit her. I have a dash cam in my car, and the surveillance camera there was just installed 2 days ago, so it should have captured it." After saying that, I pointed to the shiny device on the upper right. Kelly gritted her teeth, rolled her eyes, and shook me by the arm. "Okay, I was wrong to lose my temper with you, I apologize. Don't be angry, let's go back to the factory and help me think of a way to get the money or goods back. From now on, I will listen to you about everything in the factory, okay?" Then he smiled at the police and said, "We are friends. We had a conflict over work. It's okay, it's okay. Please go back." "I don't have the guts to joke about calling the police," I said seriously. Kelly glared angrily, "You." But in front of the police, she still didn't dare to lose her temper. We were taken to the police station. The dashcam and surveillance camera clearly captured her throwing a tantrum and accusing me of hitting her. They also clearly captured Kelly suddenly rushing out of the alley on her electric bike and falling in front of my car. I braked in time and didn't hit her car or herself at all. The facts are clear and straightforward. Kelly blushed as she accepted the criticism. After leaving the police station, she glared at him. "David, you are the most petty man I have ever seen. You ungrateful people have no right to judge humans." I hit back directly. Apparently, calling the police had not made her realize that I was no longer the David who indulged her in everything. But it doesn't matter, I don't mind spanking her a few more times to wake her up. Kelly was so angry that her face turned blue and white, and she kicked over the already damaged electric bike. I glanced at her, strode into the car and left. She shouted angrily behind him, "David, take me back." The only response she got was car exhaust. If I were to be soft-hearted towards this person again, I would be a masochist. What I am most thankful for is that we are not together yet and our relationship is just ordinary friends. Today I originally went to Kelly's factory to help her solve a problem. A friend introduced by Robert previously ordered a large batch of goods to be shipped overseas and was in a hurry to receive them, but he made excuses and refused to pay the deposit. I reminded Kelly that this situation was not cooperative and that there was clearly something wrong. If the other party breaks the contract, it will be a heavy blow to her factory which has just got on track. Her face darkened immediately. "I believe in Robert, and I also believe in his friends." So that batch of goods was produced overtime and shipped out. When I contacted that friend again, he was gone. When I heard the news, I immediately went to find Kelly to see what measures she had in place and how I could help. But as soon as we met, she pointed at my nose and cursed me in front of all the workers in the factory, saying that I was deliberately making fun of her. Her attitude was bad and her words were vicious, as if I was the one who deceived her. But as far as I know, she comforted Robert and didn't say a harsh word to that so-called friend. Just because when I scold that person, am I not indirectly scolding Robert? He is already feeling bad enough. Angry and heartbroken, I turned and left. Unexpectedly, she chased out, and then the scene at the entrance of the alley happened. A few days later, I attended a dinner party. When I arrived at the door of the private room, I just saw Kelly inviting a group of people into the next room. She nodded and bowed, smiling in a fawning manner, a look I had never seen before. When she saw me, she stood up, raised her chin, and walked towards me triumphantly. "David, I can get through this without you. I'll just consider that batch of goods as a lesson learned. Now I am raising money to start all over again. If you don't help me, there are plenty of people who are willing to help me. From now on, you will never have the chance to enjoy the pleasure of being a savior from me again." He looked so confident, as if the crisis had been resolved. I glanced at her indifferently and asked, "Who are you?" She immediately jumped up and was about to curse. Someone came out of the private room and called her, with an impatient tone. "Kelly, what are you doing? Why don't you come in?" "Here it comes. Here it comes." She responded with a smile on her face, then glared at me and left angrily. He really has two different faces towards me and others. In the middle of the dinner, I went out to answer the phone. The people in the next room walked out one after another, cursing. I was wondering why she suddenly invited me to dinner, and at such an expensive place. It turns out she wanted to borrow money. It's so funny. A meal costs tens of thousands at most, but she just asks everyone to borrow hundreds of thousands or even millions. What a wishful thinking. I thought she would apologize for cheating me before, but it turns out she has forgotten it. She still wants to borrow money. What is she thinking? When I came back from the call, I saw Kelly holding on to a short man wearing glasses. "If it doesn't work, can you lend me 200,000 first? The number on your watch is higher than this." 200,000, okay. The man hesitated for a moment and nodded. Thank you, thank you." Kelly grabbed the man's arm and burst into tears of gratitude. "But I have one condition. You stay with me for a month. Then you don't have to pay me back." "You are shameless. Get out." Kelly immediately turned hostile and pushed him away fiercely. The man brushed off his wrinkled sleeves. "TSK, do you really think I like you? I came here today just to laugh at your joke. You knew I was allergic to peanuts, but you still deliberately mixed peanut powder into my drinks and food just to see my reaction after the allergy. If someone hadn't been unable to bear it and called 120, my grave would have been overgrown with grass. You are a forgetful person, so you should have forgotten about it a long time ago, right? Haha, only David has no vision to treasure a tomboy like you who has done so many bad things." Even though he was shot in the knee, he was telling the truth, and the peanut powder thing really shocked me. I've never heard of that. I knew she was a little bit spoiled, but I never thought she would go to the point of being indifferent to life. "David, you just let him say that to you?" Kelly turned her head away guiltily, saw me, and started shouting. "Oh, you're dragging me into this time. Who doesn't know her little thoughts?" The man turned around and panicked. "David. Boss David, I'm sorry, I ignored him and looked at Kelly. "It was indeed my fault to consider you as a friend. Fortunately, we broke up a few days ago." "David. How could you join others in bullying me?" "Just stating the facts." I responded calmly and continued walking towards the private room. Behind him, the short man did not let Kelly go and continued. "Kelly, people like you don't deserve others' sincere treatment. The better others treat you, the more you become arrogant. On the contrary, you don't dare to say a word to those who really cheat you, and you just be magnanimous and don't care. You are a coward who bullies others at home. Just telling the truth." Kelly, whose thoughts were exposed, was furious and said, "Get out of here." I thought that after what happened, even if Kelly came to see me, it would take 10 days or half a month. Unexpectedly, she came the next day. Of course I couldn't see her. She waited in the lobby for a whole day, and the next day, too, with a look of great perseverance and sincerity. If she had held on a few more days, I might have respected her a little more. Unexpectedly, on the 4th day, she started to act up. I was in a meeting when my assistant came running in a panic. "Boss David, Kelly is on the rooftop and wants to see you. The meeting is suspended." But I didn't go directly to the rooftop. Instead, I made a phone call. "Kelly is on the rooftop of our company and is about to jump off the building because of the recent incident at the factory. That person's company is very close to us, just 10 minutes drive away." I went up to the rooftop and Kelly was standing on the edge in her delivery outfit. Although it is called the edge, it is actually 2 or 3 meters away. When she saw me, she lost her previous evil behavior and burst into tears. David, please help me. You have helped me so many times, this time is not bad. I laughed out of anger. Just because I helped her so many times, she became more and more arrogant. Now that he sees that I'm taking a tough stance, he's trying to jump off the building again. I can't help you. The fact that you run the factory like this only shows that you are incompetent and even gods can't help you. It's useless to force me. I advise you to shut down the factory and find a job. David. Kelly's voice cracked with anger, you won't help me, right? She laughed in anger, her eyes full of hatred. Okay, fine, you won't help me. She mumbled a few words and suddenly shouted, David, the president of David Family Group, abandoned me and forced me to jump off the building. After shouting, she looked at me provocatively. He didn't notice this abrupt sentence at all, leaving the crowd watching speechless. I didn't care and gestured, go on. She was quite obedient, David Family Group. But after she shouted a few words, it was as if someone had strangled her throat, and she could no longer make a sound with her mouth open. The next second, she turned her back suddenly, her ears red. At this moment, a gentle male voice sounded beside me, Kelly, what are you doing? It was our mutual good friend, Robert. He was also the one who could easily call Kelly away with just one phone call when my life was at stake. In that so-called car accident, he only had some scratches on his arm. Kelly was busy fixing her hair and clothes, then she turned around and walked over to me with a smile, Robert, why are you here? David and I were just playing around. She was as obedient as a kitten. I looked at Robert and said with a half-smile, so she lied to you too. Kelly's face, which had just returned to normal, turned red again and he waved his hands repeatedly, no, he's talking nonsense. I glanced at her and said to Robert, take her away. If you do this again, I will call the police. My reaction obviously surprised him, and the look in his eyes was full of inquiry. David, you're just trying to scare me by saying you're calling the police. Kelly jumped up and down. If you don't commit fraud or spread rumors and slander, I can't use this trick. Kelly, you're like this, making me regret helping you before. You were cheated by others but you took it out on me, crying, making a scene and even hanging yourself in front of me. I think I have done my best as a friend. I helped you pay off the debt you owed when your family went bankrupt, and I helped you set up your factory. But what about you? You keep pushing things further. It's not unfair to call you an ungrateful person. Kelly stiffened her neck and glared at me, you did this voluntarily. I didn't force you. When you performed the jump off the building just now, weren't you forcing me? She choked and couldn't speak. Kelly, I'm sorry, it's all my fault that you suffered such a heavy loss. However, I don't have much money on hand right now. If it really doesn't work out, I'll talk to my mom about mortgaging the house. At this time, Robert spoke with self-blame, and the first thing he said was a big move. No. Kelly was distressed and hurriedly stopped him, Robert, don't worry, even if someone is unwilling to help, I will definitely be able to raise the money. The factory will definitely get better, don't worry. She glanced at me and continued to comfort me. Robert's frown relaxed a little, and he patted my shoulder, David, calm down. I'll take Kelly away first, and talk to you another day. I looked straight at the ordinary-looking, gentle man in front of me and remained silent. Robert subconsciously avoided my gaze, sighed, and turned away. Kelly trotted obediently after him. The backs look harmonious and well-matched. It was only after I died in my previous life that I realized that Kelly had never let go of Robert during the years she was with me. The reason why she pursued me and confessed her love to me was, firstly, to rely on me as a big tree to build her career. Secondly, since Robert was married, she could organize parties in my name openly. My miserable life was completely exploited by her. But she didn't know that during the long time she had a crush on Robert, he had treated her as his backup. Those ambiguous attitudes and those seemingly true but false teasings were not just her overthinking. He knew how she felt about him, so he kept her hanging with ambiguity. But after her family went bankrupt, she no longer qualified to be a backup and was completely kicked out, leaving her in the position of a friend. The man she loved was not as cold, aloof and indifferent as she thought. He also yearns for money and power, and is even willing to take shortcuts to achieve them. A lot of filth and viciousness are hidden beneath his gentle and elegant appearance. In my previous life, I was completely blind when it came to friendship and love. Kelly said she could raise the money without my help, but after a lot of twists and turns, she finally set her sights on my family. But this time the target was not me, but my mother. After the jumping incident, I went on a business trip that night. The trip was originally planned to last a week, but because the negotiation process went smoothly, it was completed in 5 days. It was afternoon when I returned to City A. I took a taxi from the airport, and just as I arrived at the door, I saw Robert's car driving into our community. Kelly was sitting in the passenger seat. They had no other acquaintances in the neighborhood. Instead of rushing home, I dragged my luggage into the cafe across the community. After ordering a cup of coffee, I sat on the second floor where I could see the street and turned on the surveillance camera in my living room. Sure enough, my mother was welcoming them in warmly. "How did you two find time to come here? I haven't seen you for a long time. I missed you." Kelly hugged my mother affectionately. "Auntie, you are getting younger and younger. People would believe you if you said you were my sister. Robert, don't you agree?" "Yeah. Auntie is in better shape than you." The two of them sang in unison. My mother was so happy that she arranged for someone to serve tea and fruit, and then pulled me to sit on the sofa. "I think Robert is in good spirits." "Kelly, what's wrong with you? You look very tired, and you've lost a lot of weight." Kelly's eyes immediately turned red, but she forced a smile. "I'm trying to lose weight these days." "You're already thin enough, don't lose any more weight. Health is the most important thing." My mother clapped her hands. Seeing that my mother didn't notice her abnormality, Kelly winked at Robert. "Auntie, she's just being stubborn. She's obviously worried about things at the factory. She was cheated out of a large batch of goods by a client some time ago. Now the workers' wages have not been settled, and the supplier is also asking for payment. Haha, she came to borrow money from my mother while I was not at home. I paid the bill and walked home while watching the surveillance video." "Stop talking." Kelly interrupted Robert. "I agreed not to tell you this. Aunt, don't listen to him. I can handle it myself. I came here just to see you today." My mother was anxious. "Child, why don't you tell me when you have difficulties? In my eyes, you are the same as my daughter. It just so happens that I have some money in my hand that I don't need, so you can take it first for emergency." Robert also advised, "Just write an IOU and return it to Auntie when you get through this stage." Kelly nodded in agreement, reluctantly. My mom stood up to get the card, and the two men high-fived behind her. "So disgusting." I pushed the door open and walked in. Their arms, which they hadn't had time to lower, froze awkwardly in the air. Robert was the first to react and greeted calmly, "David, you're back." I nodded as a greeting. Kelly was sitting on the sofa, looking very uncomfortable. She glanced at me, then quickly lowered her head without saying anything. My mother just came down from upstairs. "Hey, son? Didn't you say you were going to be away for a week? Why are you back so soon?" I shook my head in frustration. This cooperation has not been concluded. My mother poked my forehead with disapproval. "How could the deal not be concluded? Just wait for your scolding. Your dad and the uncles on the board of directors won't let you go. By the way, I clearly put my card in the first drawer of my desk. How come I can't find it? Did you see it?" I took it. The company's cash flow is tight at this time, so I took it to deal with emergencies. "What do you want the card for?" "Kelly's factory is having problems and needs money." I raised an eyebrow at Kelly sarcastically. "Really?" Kelly's face suddenly turned red as if blood could drip out. She stood up from the sofa and pulled Robert out. Auntie, no need. Robert and I will leave first and come to see you another day." "You're leaving so soon?" "I'm sorry I couldn't help you." My mother pulled Kelly's hand with a guilty look on her face. "It's okay. I appreciate your kindness." My mother continued to ramble on. "Don't be too anxious, things will work out when the time comes. At this time, the workers may be more impatient. You must keep calm and not slack off in management, especially in safety issues. A few years ago, your uncle and I failed to provide adequate supervision, which led to the burning down of the entire factory. Although the insurance company compensated, many things needed to be purchased again, which was like starting a new factory. It was exhausting." After hearing the last two sentences, Kelly, who was a little impatient, suddenly brightened up his eyes. After seeing them off, I gave my mom a thumbs up. "Your acting skills are so good that you would be a movie queen in the entertainment industry." My mother raised her chin. "I was just about to look for them, but they came to my doorstep." You bully my son and still want to take money from me. How can you dream so well? Son, do you think she would really take such a risk? I nodded, 80% chance. I'll add fuel to the fire. A few days later, the backbone of Kelly's factory was poached. The workers were in a panic and suppliers began to come to their doors to demand payment. It is said that the office is full. After Kelly cried and begged for mercy, and firmly stated that she would never default on her debts, some soft-hearted suppliers finally agreed to give her some time. But the hard-hearted ones finally forced her to pay off the debt with her car and valuables. I watched some videos on WeChat Moments. Kelly cried her eyes out in it, much more miserably than when she saw my tortured body. Seeing that she was almost fainting from crying, I knew that her stress must have reached its limit. Well, with only one choice left, she had to go for it. Sure enough, one night half a month later, her factory was burned down. After Kelly filed her claim, the insurance company immediately began investigating and quickly discovered something was wrong. The rapid progress of the investigation is of course inseparable from my help. Just when they were about to be convicted of insurance fraud, the person who helped set the fire voluntarily turned himself in, saying that he had a grudge against Kelly at work and that he had burned the factory in retaliation. I know that person. He is an employee of Kelly's factory and also her suitor. This unjust guy was eventually sentenced to 5 years in prison. I wonder if he will regret his actions in the future. Although Kelly escaped jail after this incident, he became completely penniless and heavily in debt. Robert came to see me. After a few pleasantries, he got down to business. Are you really going to ignore Kelly for the rest of your life? Men should be more generous and not care so much about girls. She is at the bottom of the valley now. Even if we can't help her, we can at least keep her company. After all, we grew up together, don't be so heartless. Kelly has realized her mistake and wants to apologize to you. Are you free tomorrow night? Let's go to the bar, have a drink and put this behind us. I looked at him carefully. His attitude was sincere, but the calculation in his eyes was obvious. In my eyes, he was family. Robert's father is my family's driver. He has worked diligently for decades and has never made a mistake. In addition to their salaries, his parents bought a house for his family in the city center and paid for all of Robert's tuition and living expenses during his school years, including the cost of studying abroad. Originally, my father wanted to arrange Robert to join my company. But he refused and joined the company of Linda's family, which is his current girlfriend's family. Dad did not stop him and even provided him with a lot of connections and resources. I believe my family has done nothing wrong to Robert. Last year, his father passed away unexpectedly in his hometown while on vacation. Our family of 3 put down our work and rushed to help with the funeral. But what about Robert? In his previous life, he not only called away Kelly who was on her way to deliver the ransom, but the kidnapping was also caused by him. In this life, at this moment, although there is no evidence, I know he is leading me into a trap. Okay. You arrange it. I agreed readily. Robert raised his lips in satisfaction and called to book a private room. After telling me the room number, he chatted with me for a while before getting up and leaving. After he left, I immediately made some arrangements. The next day I arrived at the agreed private room on time. The 2 of them have arrived. Robert smiled and pulled me to sit down. Kelly was just worried that you wouldn't come. I knew you weren't that stingy. Okay, everyone is here, the wine is ready, let's not go home until we are drunk today. Kelly lowered her head and raised a bottle of beer. David, I was wrong before. I took advantage of your tolerance and acted recklessly. I was too ungrateful. I'm sorry. After she said that, she drank the bottle of beer in one breath. It was my fault too. I shouldn't have come to your house and disturbed your aunt. Robert also finished a bottle, then put another bottle in front of me. David, everything in the past is like yesterday's death. Drink this bottle and forget about those unhappy things. The 2 looked at me expectantly. I raised the bottle but didn't drink it. After a pause, I smiled and asked, is this wine okay? Kelly froze for a moment. Robert remained calm and said with a smile, what's the problem with alcohol? You can't even drink a small bottle of beer now. That's good. I nodded and shouted outside the door, come in. 4 burly men immediately pushed the door open. Kelly's expression, which had just relaxed, immediately became tense again. Robert was also visibly panicked. David, what do you mean? I didn't say anything and winked at the 4 bodyguards. Both men were immediately restrained and their jaws removed. I ignored their struggles and slowly poured the wine in my hand evenly into 2 glasses. Then, in front of their horrified eyes, he poured a glass into each of them. Soon, the 2 of them twisted their bodies and their faces flushed. The medicine is very strong, but they were originally intended to use this amount on me alone. Seeing that they were already unconscious, I told the bodyguard to lift their chins. "Enjoy your night." I patted Robert's face. The bodyguard pushed the 2 men and women who were controlled by lust together and followed me out of the box. Sitting down not far from the door, I checked the surveillance video on my phone. The 2 men were tearing their clothes eagerly and rolling into a ball. If they had succeeded, I would be the one making a fool of myself in the room. I exited the surveillance and looked around the bar, and sure enough, the person I had an appointment with had arrived. "James, this is David. I'm at the door of room 6. I dialed the phone. A few minutes later, a tall man appeared in front of me. "I wonder what Mr. David wants to ask me for." I didn't waste any words and pointed to the box. "Kelly and Robert are inside." He was stunned, pursed his lips and stared at the door. Just then, a girl jumped out from behind him and asked me, "Why don't you go in?" "I heard from Robert that he wants to reconcile you and Kelly today." The girl was Robert's girlfriend Linda. "The man is her brother James," Linda said as she pushed the door of the box. "Ms. Linda." "Linda." James and I called her at the same time. Linda stopped what she was doing. "What are you doing? You 2 are acting a little weird." James touched his nose. "Linda, my asthma spray fell in the car, can you help me?" "Forget it, just follow me." He raised his foot and entered the private room first. Linda followed closely behind, and a few seconds later her cry was heard, "Brother, why are you covering my eyes? Let go." "What are you 2 doing?" There was a chaotic sound of banging inside. When I went in, Kelly was curled up on the sofa wrapped in a blanket, her hair was wet and her eyes were dull. Robert was wet from head to toe, his cheeks were red and swollen, and he knelt at Linda's feet with his upper body naked. "Linda, listen to my explanation, I was framed." "Oh?" I found a chair and sat down, smiling and asked, "Who is so bold? Come and listen." "It's you. David, you bastard. Why are you hurting me?" Robert's eyes were full of fire and he rushed towards me viciously. I kicked him and he fell to the ground in a mess. He struggled to get up but was restrained by the bodyguards. James watched coldly. Linda couldn't bear it any longer and asked me, "David, why did you frame him?" I projected the video on my phone onto the TV in the private room. "Kelly, it's not too late for you to regret now." In the video, Robert and Kelly appear in the picture with this private room in the background. Kelly was carefully pouring white powder into an opened beer bottle. Hearing this, she stopped what she was doing and said, "Then break up with Linda and be with me." "Don't be silly," Robert refused. "Look, you don't want me. It doesn't matter who I am with except you. Of course I have to find someone who can help my Kelly family make a comeback. David is the best person. If he won't help me, I will sue him for rape and ruin his reputation. Who told him to watch me die without helping me? I am left with nowhere to go." Kelly's face was full of cruelty in the video. Robert sighed, "Since you have made up your mind, I will not persuade you anymore. But I think it is best to let David marry you. This way, not only can you naturally support the Kelly family, but you can also get most of his wealth in the future whether you are divorced or widowed." "You're right." Kelly nodded, obviously accepting Robert's proposal. The 2 chatted for a while and then I arrived. The video ends when I feed both of them the spiked wine. Linda looked at Robert in disbelief. "You knew Kelly drugged David, and you were an accomplice?" She obviously couldn't accept that her boyfriend's image had collapsed like this, and her voice was shaking. James walked over and held his sister in his arms, looking at me with complicated eyes. Linda's family has always disliked Robert. They can see that his intentions are not pure, but they can't resist Linda who loves him so much. So this time I had a hunch that Kelly and Robert would cause trouble, so I booked a private room in advance and installed surveillance, and then made an appointment with James to meet at this bar. Although we are not very familiar with each other, he will definitely come if I invite him. After all, they have always wanted to work with the David family. If Robert hadn't done anything to expose his true colors, James and I would have just had a brief chat about working together. Fortunately, I did not underestimate the malicious intentions of Robert and Kelly, and they lived up to my expectations. Robert, let's break up. Linda leaned in her brother's arms for a long time before she raised her head and made a painful decision. James breathed a sigh of relief. Robert was anxious. Linda, don't. I shouldn't get involved in other people's affairs. I know it's wrong. You can punish me however you want, just please don't break up with me. We have had a good relationship over the years and I have never done anything to let you down. This time it was an accident. I was controlled by drugs, not by my own will. He spoke earnestly. Linda's already unsteady heart was obviously shaken. She twisted her fingers and tears fell. Robert saw this and continued, Linda, we've been through so much together. It's not easy to get to where we are now. Please don't abandon me. I promise I will never have anything to do with Kelly again. I glanced at Kelly on the sofa. She was already in tears. I don't know whether she was crying because her conspiracy failed today or because she was abandoned by her idol. But none of this matters. The important thing now is not to let Robert get away with it. You said you've never done anything to let Linda down, so does that count as cheating? Does it count as hiring someone to investigate her preferences? All of a sudden, the four people's eyes were focused on my face. Boss David, what else do you know? James asked. Robert blanched. I looked at Linda. When you were a child, you were nearly kidnapped by human traffickers in City B, but were saved by a boy. You were so scared at the time that you thought the boy was a bad guy and bit his hand hard until you passed out. Yes, that boy is Robert. She wiped her tears and nodded, then looked at Robert with a little relief. Fortunately, there is no scar on his hand. The latter lowered his head and didn't dare to look her in the eyes. There's a scar. I needed 5 stitches. I showed her the scar on my hand. Linda stared at me with eyes wide open. Is it you? I told him about saving people, but I didn't tell him that I was bitten by you. I was traveling with my family that time. At that time, Robert was in hospital because of a broken leg. You can check it out. No wonder, he only remembered that I bit him after I reminded him. No wonder he has no scar on his hand. Linda murmured, and the next second she stood up suddenly, rushed to Robert and slapped him. You deceived me so much. Linda, I like you so much, but you just won't pay attention to me. I can only pretend to be your savior to get us closer. And even if David doesn't say it, I plan to find a time to confess to you soon. Robert made amends. Then you hire a private detective to follow her and analyze her preferences. When are you going to confess? I asked. I remember the detective's last name is who. Do you want to ask him to confront her? I'm going to confess everything. Linda, please believe me. Robert looked at Linda with pleading eyes. I sneered. How could he possibly confess? In his previous life, he told me the truth about these 2 things after getting drunk, and tested me like crazy the next day. He was relieved when he saw that I didn't remember anything. They were already married at that time and seemed to be in a good relationship, so I didn't expose him. Linda obviously didn't believe Robert now. She stopped slapping him and started hitting him all over the face, shouting heartbreakingly, Robert, what on earth is true about you? This time she showed no mercy. It seemed that she was completely desperate about Robert. After all, the person she thought was her soulmate was actually a conspiracy by someone with ulterior motives. Kelly shouted from the side, stop hitting him, are you going to kill him? No one paid any attention to her and she didn't dare to step forward to stop them. James came over and said, Boss David, thank you for saving my sister twice. Seeing the confusion in my eyes, he continued, once when she was a child, and once now. If Linda marries Robert, my family will never have peace. Not only was there no peace, the entire Linda family fell into Robert's hands. The night ended with Robert being beaten into a pig's head. Of course, Linda paid a heavy price, her hands were purple from beating people. Mr. David, my whole family will come to thank you tomorrow. James said to me before leaving with his sister. You're welcome. It's my duty. He insisted. After the 2 left, Kelly immediately went to check on Robert's injuries, and her distressed voice was tinged with tears. Robert, are you okay? Robert dodged her hand and looked at me with eyes like a poisonous snake spitting out its tongue. David, are you satisfied now? Not bad. I raised the corner of my mouth. Kelly rushed towards me and raised his hands to hit me, but was restrained by my bodyguard. She gritted her teeth and said, David, I don't have you as a friend anymore. I smiled and said, it's my honor. I looked at the bodyguards who were still restraining the two men and said, "Let's go." Kelly was cursing behind me, and I stopped and looked back with a frown. The bodyguard immediately stuffed a rag into her mouth. Kelly rushed to the bathroom retching. "Don't overestimate your abilities." Robert glanced at her with disdain, without any intention of going over to take a look. I think after tonight, he hates not only me, but Kelly as well. Linda's family acted quickly and kicked Robert out of the family the next day. James kept his word and brought his parents and sister to my house to express his gratitude. The two companies had a very pleasant conversation and finalized several cooperation deals at the dinner table that day. Because they were grateful for my help, Linda's family gave them a lot of concessions. My work is getting busier. But the surveillance on Robert was not relaxed at all. Kelly went to see Robert every day and was kicked out several times. Later, she was allowed into the house and served as a free babysitter. Even so, she was happy with it. The power of love is indeed strong. Kelly here is trying hard to please Robert. On the other side, Robert tried hard to get back together with Linda. A few days later, Linda went abroad, keeping her whereabouts strictly confidential. Robert finally calmed down. But soon something happened that made him upset. Kelly found out she was pregnant. Even when Robert asked to have an abortion, Robert's mother moved in. Of course, the old man is on the same side as Kelly. Robert didn't insist and flew to another city to meet the two people. This time he swindled a large sum of money from them in the name of investing in David's family project. Then he began to linger in various brothels. In the photos and videos I received, he was hugging various beauties, smoking cigars, drinking red wine, and going in and out of casinos. I wonder how Kelly would react to seeing this. While she was pregnant and borrowing money from everywhere to restart the factory, Robert, with a huge amount of money, was enjoying himself and not giving her a penny. But now is not the time. I was biding my time, waiting for Robert to spend all his money and to scam again. A few months later, the private investigator told me that Robert had arranged to meet with the two men again. I immediately arranged for someone to fly over. That evening, I received a video. In the parking lot, Robert walked and talked fluently. Following him were the murderers who kidnapped and murdered me, the Chin brothers. At this moment, the two of them were submissive and had fawning smiles, without any of the viciousness they had in their previous lives. But the intense pain still spread throughout my body. I forced myself to keep reading. In the video, a down-and-out middle-aged man suddenly rushed towards them and hugged Robert's thighs. "Robert, I found you. Please give me the money back. The $5 million is my hard-earned money. I have been to the David family, and you don't work there at all. You used to be friends with boss David, but now you have broken up. The key is that the David family has never invested in the Western Suburbs project. The Western Suburbs project was Robert's excuse for defrauding the Chin brothers of their investment." Robert couldn't break free and shouted to the two brothers, "Hurry up and pull him away. Where did this lunatic come from? I don't even know him." The two men hesitated for a moment, but still started to pull him. The middle-aged man dodged and asked, "Were you also fooled by him into investing in David family's project, and the money was transferred to his personal account?" He is a liar. The money was not transferred to David family's account at all, but was spent by him. I received photos of his debauchery and bank statements yesterday, in my bag. This morning, the David family's official website also issued an announcement that someone was defrauding people in the name of their company. Upon hearing this, the Chin brothers quickly opened the man's school bag. The photo was fine, but when he saw the running water, his expression suddenly changed. They changed their previous flattery and showed their fierce side. They grabbed Robert's neck and said, "How dare you lie to me?" while dragging him to the car. The middle-aged man was kicked to the side and fell to the ground groaning. It wasn't until the three men's car drove away that he got up from the ground and made a yeah gesture to the camera. He was not the one deceived by Robert, but I found him. As for the transaction flow in the bag, it was all the destination of the money in the two brothers' payment accounts. Robert defrauded only the two of them in the name of investing in David's family project, and he defrauded nearly $200 million in total. But the two brothers are not innocent either. Their money came from illegal sources. In the previous life, Robert told them that it was me who turned against my debt and swallowed up the principal and dividends, which led to the Chin brothers kidnapping me in an attempt to get the money back. If they were not ready to take my life at that time, the delay in the arrival of the ransom completely enraged them. In their previous life, the Chin brothers were executioners, and Robert was the real culprit behind the scenes who played with everyone. Robert has been kidnapped. The kidnappers called his mother and demanded a ransom of 100 million. Robert's mother came to my door begging. It just so happens that our family of 3 are not in the country and cannot be contacted. As a last resort, she had to call the police. Kelly, who had already received photos of Robert's drinking, gambling, and whoring, inadvertently revealed that she had called the police when Robert's mother was talking on the phone with the kidnappers. Robert was killed and tortured. The kidnapper was shot dead while escaping. The only comfort for Robert's heartbroken mother at this time is the baby in Kelly's belly. So when she found out that the other party wanted to abort the child, she immediately rushed to the hospital. But it was too late, the operation had already been completed. Robert's angry mother then killed Kelly with a knife. Finally, Robert's mother was caught on the spot and sent to prison. Everything was settled when my parents and I came back from a trip abroad. The dark clouds above my head have completely dissipated, and the air is sweet. Our wonderful life has begun.